Commit to Wealth Nation, welcome to the Commit to Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Juan Vargas. Today on the show, we have a very special guest. His name is Jerry Fink. In 1996, Jerry Fink co-founded the Bascom Group, a private equity firm specializing in multifamily, commercial, non-performing loans, and real estate-related investments. Since then, Bascom has completed over $15.2 billion in multifamily and commercial value-added transactions, including 593 multifamily community transactions and over 158,000 units. Wow, that's just an incredible resume. 158,000 units. I mean, 15.2 billion. You know, how do you guys do it? You know, first of all, welcome to the show, Jerry. Thank you for being here and and taking the time out of your day and let's get this show started.
Great, Juan. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share my experience as well.
Yeah. So let's get the show started with telling us where you're calling us from and tell us a little bit about your background. Fill us in your background.
Sure, Juan. I'm in Newport Beach, California. Our office is in Irvine, California, and my background is our company started back in 1996. But prior to that, I went to school for real estate at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So I had an undergraduate in electrical and computer engineering. And, as much as I liked engineering, I really wanted to go into business and learn, how to make money in the business world. So I went to school, graduate school, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and was going to major in finance. And then I realized that, they had a great real estate program at Madison and very hands-on, very practical. And so I ended up double majoring in real estate. I got a couple internships there at Disney Development Company, a company called VMS Realty, which was a big syndicator back many years ago. So I graduated and then ended up getting a job out of school at Pacific Life Insurance Company as a real estate analyst. And I ended up working there for 5 years. It was a great experience, great people. But in 1991, 1990, the real estate market crashed in the U.S. So whether it was California or Texas, wherever, through a series of overbuilding and recessions and job losses, the U.S. went through a pretty dramatic downturn in the early 90s in real estate. And so I was working for a big company doing real estate analysis. And eventually, probably 2-3 years after arriving in California, my roommate and I started buying some single-family homes. And so we'd buy a home, foreclosure. We're 50-50 partners. We'd renovate it and we'd sell it. And, that's where I got the fever. So I was working kind of full-time as a real estate analyst. And then at night I would go out and look for foreclosures. So I bought my first home for $60,000. We put in about $30,000 improvements. We were into it for $90,000, sold it for $125,000. So after I sold that first home, I got the fever of buying value add distressed real estate. So I ended up doing 4 more homes that year. And on my 4th or 5th home that I was flipping, I met somebody and they said, Jerry, you should buy apartments. They have cash flow. And so I bought a 12 unit that was a foreclosure. And this 12 unit, I bought it for $300,000. It had sold for, I think, $700,000 or $800,000 in the peak of the market foreclosure. So I got the bank to lend me the loan to buy it. And then I went and got friends and family to chip in, $5,000 to $10,000 each. And then I also cashed in my credit cards. So I created this little syndication and bought my first 12 unit back in the mid 90s and then, did the renovation and it worked out great. That's how I got my start kind of, doing homes and apartments. And then in 1996, David Kim and I sat down, who was a good friend of mine from Wisconsin, and put together a business plan to do this full time. And the plan was we'd both leave our institutional jobs and start a company called the Bascom Group. And our focus would be buying value-add multifamily in Southern California. And then, so we put a business plan together and then approached another classmate of ours, Derek Chen, and pitched him on the business plan. And frankly, back then we thought, hey, there's no way he's going to approve this. We planned, he said, I'm in, let's do it. I'll wire the money, quit your job. That's how we got started. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's start off, with the name, where the name originate from.
So Bascom Group is named after Bascom Hill, which is in the center of the University of Wisconsin. So if you go to the University of Wisconsin, there's a very steep hill you have to walk up to the business school. And so we thought, hey, we all went to business school there. You know, Bascom Hill is well known. Let's call it the Bascom Group because there's three of us. And so that's how the name got started.
That's great, and I really like your story. How you started off with single family, and you took the next graduate step, and you went to a smaller multifamily, and then you pitched your business plan to one of your partners, and you guys all kind of went in head first, right? And so
Exactly.
that's kind of what it takes sometimes to be successful. You have to take it to the next level and just go to it, right? And go do it. And so what kind of property classes do you guys focus mainly on?
Well, multifamily is our core business. And so, we do anywhere from 500 million to $1 billion a year of new acquisitions. And for the most part, it's value add, which means we buy, renovate, reposition, and hopefully sell for a profit. So multifamily is kind of our core business. But then over the years, we've started separate portfolio companies where we found other entrepreneurs that, maybe they want to buy industrial, they want to buy office or executive suites or retail. And so we would fund that entrepreneur, start a new company to do real estate, to do industrial or office or, executive suites. So we've started about 15 different portfolio companies that, it's all value add real estate, but it's different product types. But our core business is multifamily.
Got it. Multifamily. So what would you say is the majority of your portfolio? Is it like, class C, class B, class A? What is your mixture there?
Yeah, the majority is class B and C. And I'd say that's built in the 1960s to 1980s. And that's what I meant for, the middle income worker in America. But we do buy class A and we buy class D too. So, but the bulk of our portfolio really is kind of class B and C, because our premise there is that's the largest part of the bell curve of the consumer in America. And we want to target the consumer, that's got the broadest kind of cross section of people. And then hopefully buy something from an owner that hasn't put the capital improvements in, upgrade it, and really provide housing that, again, the average person in the U.S. can afford, but give them nice quality, a nice quality apartment.
Got it. That makes sense. So what type of improvements are you doing to these value-added, multifamily communities? What are your major, improvements that you're looking to do on these properties?
Sure. We look at kind of two avenues, and one is the interiors, and then two is going to be the exteriors or common area amenities. And so the interiors, we walk in and we'll look at the unit, and the first thing we do is we look at the kitchen, and we look, is there a way to open up the kitchen? Because a lot of kitchens built back in the 60s and 70s, 80s were very, I call it galley kitchens, or they look like a walk-in closet. So our goal is, can we open up the kitchen to create kind of a modern open layout where if you're cooking or cleaning in the kitchen, you can look out to the living room, watch your TV, or see your family eating. So our goal is, can we open up the kitchen? That's one of our first steps. And sometimes you can remove cabinets so you have a much more open point, because all the new apartments today, it's a very open floor plan.
Right.
All the apartments built back in the 60s and 70s had a very kind of, again,
closed
in closet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to open up the kitchens by removing cabinets or, moving the location of cabinets. So maybe they're on the wall versus hanging beneath the kitchen entry there. And then we look at the appliances. Are they old, white, or kind of yellow appliances? Can we upgrade the appliances? The countertops, we'll take out the old Formica countertops and put in sometimes white quartz countertops, and we'll upgrade those. We'll put in backsplashes. So instead of just drywall that's painted, we'll put in kind of decorative backsplashes. Flooring, we try to go with that faux wood, hardwood floor look unit. And, sometimes we'll do carpeting in the bedrooms. So we'll put in barbecues, create more living area around the pool, because most pools built 20 to 40 years ago, they put a pool in, they put about 10-foot depth, they put a wrought iron fence around it. So we'll take out the wrought iron fence, we'll put in clear plexiglass you can see in. Again, we'll put in the cabanas and barbecue areas and try to create this common area around the pool. The gyms, we'll take out the old gym equipment, put in new new equipment. Sometimes we'll put in those Peloton bikes where you can go and do spin classes. The leasing office will open up and put all new furniture and fixtures in as well. And then we'll try to add amenities. Can we put in a playground area for the children? Can we put in a putting green for adults that like golfing? And so we'll try to find ways to really add additional amenities to the property to really improve the leasing experience. And obviously the entryway, we'll put in fountains or water features and new signage. And obviously the exterior, we'll paint it or put in new siding or upgrades there as well.
Got it, man. There's a lot of upgrades that you actually do to these communities. So over these 158,000 units that you guys have acquired, what has been the most attractive upgrades that you guys look to do, and what kind of rent premium do you guys get from that?
Well, the biggest rent premium really is it's the interior finish, and we've seen anywhere from, we try to target at least $150 increase over the prior rents, and the goal is to get maybe $200 to $300 rent increase from the prior ownership. And if it's a building built back in the 60s, you might get $250 to $400 increases. If it's a newer building, the increase might be smaller. But and so we look at that return on cost. So if they were getting $1,000 and we can get $1,200, that's a $200 increase per month. That's $2,400 per year of additional rent. And so we'll take the additional rent premium, divide it by our total cost to renovate, and we try to hit at least a 10% return on cost for doing those upgrades. And if you can sell the property at a 6 cap rate or 5 cap rate, it can be really accretive because you're installing or putting fixtures in a 10% return, but selling at a 6 or 5% return, so you can make a lot of money doing that. Obviously, the amenities are a big benefit too, because if you buy a property for $10 million, for example, if you spend $100,000 or $200,000 to upgrade the common area, it's really a small fraction of your total cost basis. But it has a big impact because as the consumer walks in and they see a new fitness center, a new leasing area, their impression is, oh, it's a Class A building. And so they're willing to pay a higher rent because they've got Class A amenities.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you have to try to, extract every single avenue to whenever you're looking to add value to these properties. That's great. That's awesome. So I want to talk about what markets you're looking at, and what important factors do you look for when determining which market to enter?
Sure. We really have two areas, and one I call is the barrier to entry markets, and those are New York, California, Seattle, where it's very difficult and very expensive to build. And then two is the Sunbelt markets, which are going to be like the Dallas and the Houstons and the Phoenix and Las Vegas. And so we buy, I call it the coastal areas. So it's East Coast, West Coast, and the Southwest and Southeast. They call it kind of the smile states.
Yeah.
Not very active in the Midwest. And so we really like either barriers to entry, which is very expensive or difficult to build, or again, it's like the Southwest, Southeast, where, the Dallas or the Houstons of the world, where they've got strong population growth. Because either way, we either need a difficulty in supply, which again, like is California, or we need job growth, which will generate increased rents. And so we really try to find, those markets that either have population growth or barriers to entry. But we're not very active in the Midwest because the Midwest is very stable. We like markets that can be volatile because we like downturns. We like a market that crashes, because when a market crashes, if you're a contrarian or a value add player, you can get some really good buys. And much like Texas, Texas has crashed a number of times over the years. And when it's crashed and people were opportunistic, they did really, really well.
Yeah, so you look to take advantage of the down cycles as well as the up cycles, right? So, you try to go in there and buy as much as you can, and whenever it's down, and then sell at a higher price point whenever the markets are doing well. So, now that I'm talking about selling, what is your business strategy on these properties? Are you looking to buy and hold for 3 to 5 years, 10 years of a longer term? What is your strategy?
Yeah, our strategy really is to buy, renovate, and sell. And that process typically takes 3 to 5 years. And so obviously you'll acquire the property, to complete the renovation probably takes you 1 year to 18 months. And then you need about a year to stabilize it and maybe a year to sell it. So when you add those kind of timeframes up, you're really looking at selling the property in 3 to 5 years. And most of our properties were in partnership with another investor or investors. And so most of our investors are looking to, provide us capital to buy these buildings. And then, they want to see us sell them so they can harvest the money and, realize the profits. And, we share in those profits. And so, again, we've got to buy, renovate, and reposition. And typically that's within a 3 to 5 year period.
3 to 5 year window. Okay. With the state of the market and how heated it is currently, what are you doing as far as underwriting and to be safe? In case we do have a downturn, what are you doing there?
That's a good question, Juan, because in today's environment, it's very competitive. There's a lot of buyers. Everyone kind of loves real estate today, and so we've got to be just more careful in our underwriting. We're underwriting lower returns today. We're also going lower leverage. So we're in an environment today where, the typical leverage to buy an apartment today, value add, is in that 65 to 70% period. 2007 earlier, lenders were giving 75, 80, 85% financing. But due to banking regulations today, the leverage is typically a lot lower. And so, we feel better in today's cycle in that our leverage kind of across the board probably averages going in maybe 65% loan to cost. If we looked at 2007 earlier, it might have been 75 to 80% loan to cost. So banks are more regulated. They've got lower leverage. We've been putting on less leverage. And so we feel like if there is a downturn, we'll do better this time because we've got lower leverage.
Yeah. So as far as the length in your term on your leverage, what are you looking for there? Are you looking for a longer term, say 10, 12, year term, or what are your strategy there?
Yeah, we're typically going with floating rate debt, and we do long-term debt with HUD and, other type lenders, but typically it's floating rate debt. And the reason for that is we want to be able to sell the properties in, call it 3 to 5 years. And if you take out a 10-year loan and you sell your property in year 3, you may have a big prepayment fee you have to pay to that lender to break out of that long-term fixed rate loan. So our goal is to get floating rate debt with a 3 to 5 year term, which matches the duration of our hold period. And that way, if we want to sell in years 2, 3, 4, or 5, we can sell and have very minimal prepayment costs with lenders. One of the biggest mistakes we see people make is they buy a property that's value add, they put on a 10-year fixed rate loan, they sell it 2 years later, and they could pay millions of dollars of prepayment or defeasance costs to break out of that fixed rate loan.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So you kind of keep it the same, so like that you're able to exit, and it's not going to cost you as much. If you do have a prepayment penalty,
Exactly.
that's a really good strategy. So, you've obviously have been in the game for a good while now, right? So since the '90s. So and during these years, you've been through a couple different down cycles. So. Sure. What are you seeing as far as the next couple of years, next 6 months? I mean, what is your vision? Do you see another, down cycle coming in, and what are you doing to get ready for that?
That's a good question. And, the fun thing about our business is down cycles always come and they come when you least expect it. So, we're going to be faced with more down cycles in the future, whether we like it or not. And, our goal has always been, or we've always thought, a down cycle is going to come. And when it comes, it makes you look really stupid. It looks like, I shouldn't have bought that property a year ago, or I should have put on less leverage. And when it happens, it makes us all look foolish in retrospect. But what we've learned is you've got to learn from it, and then start taking advantage of the opportunities. And, when things are going well, it seems like they'll go well forever, but they never go well forever. And at some point they crash. And when they crash, it feels like it's never going to get better, but it does. And so what we've learned in these downturns is keep looking for them, know they're going to come, be prepared for it, save some cash. And when they do crash, do everything in your power to buy as much as humanly possible. You can get a good deal. Good deals in a down market. And, Dallas, Houston, Austin, or Chicago, they're all going to crash at some point in the future. Maybe it's to a lesser extent, maybe it's to a bigger extent. And again, when it crashes, everyone gets very pessimistic. And we found when everyone gets very, very pessimistic, that's probably the time that you should sell everything, and buy apartments and
so your kids
yeah, back up the truck and buy everything.
Yeah. So whenever I listened to you one of your interviews a couple of years ago with Craig Haskell. So if you guys don't know who he is is very knowledgeable in in commercial real estate. And so Craig Haskell, but I listened to one of your interviews and he was basically in that conversation you guys talked about what you guys did or to prepare to be ready, because I remember you saying that you were seeing a window of opportunity the next 3 to 4 years. So how did you prepare for that as far as your capital sources and whatnot?
And I think the way to prepare for it is to diversify your capital sources. And because what happens is you may have a capital source when things are going great and they like you and they think you're the best operator. When the market crashes, they may say, hey, I've lost so much money, I don't want to buy. And so you've got to have other capital sources. And I think one thing that we've learned is, we had a great relationship with a lot of capital sources that were very institutional. I call these the billion-dollar private equity funds. And, I wish I would have diversified more and had high net worth individuals, family offices, overseas funds, tried to create a much more diversified bucket of capital so that if one source went away, there was another source that said, hey, I'm ready to invest. And so I think my, recommendation is have a variety of capital sources, whether it's institutional, high net worth, crowdsourcing, overseas, family office, friends and family, crowdsourcing. Try to create a very diversified bucket of capital. And some of those capital sources may not be with you when things are going great because they don't see the opportunity, but the market might crash and then they might be the source that jumps in and you do a lot of deals with. And the group that you really like, that you're doing a ton of business in the upcycle, may have so many losses from, other people and other groups that they can't invest. So, I guess my recommendation is be very diversified, have a lot of capital sources, and understand that the group you're working with when things are going well might not be the group you're working with when things have bottomed.
Yeah, those are great points because, as for newer investors, you would think that, those guys will kind of stick around. As long as you're doing well, they'll kind of stick around with you. But you made a good point in that if they lose a lot of capital, then they're not going to have the taste for it at that moment, right? So you're going to have to, you have to wait for them maybe a few years. And in the meanwhile, you have to, do what you can to find other sources. So yeah, those are great points. Yeah. As far as your property management, what are you doing there? Are you using a third-party property management, or do you have your own company?
Sure. Yeah, we do third-party property management and third-party construction management. And our belief is we can always find a property manager in a Dallas or a Houston or a Phoenix that is very established, very experienced, and is much better than we could ever create a company. And I see a lot of groups that go, I'm going to go create my own company because it's going to be better. But you end up spending a tremendous amount of time creating this management company, running it, when at the end of the day, you could have hired someone that is bigger, better, and more experienced than you. And so our goal really is to find the best property manager in a market, hire them, and then, manage them very thoroughly and take our best practices and kind of overlay their best local skills. So we've always felt hiring a third party has been better. And, if that third party doesn't perform, you can terminate them, hire somebody else. And because I found a lot of people spend so much time building their management company that they don't focus on finding new opportunities because they're running this big business. Again, we've always found that there's always someone better than we are that's already got a company and they're well established.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you want to focus on just on your side of the company and not necessarily on the management side where you mentioned earlier that they are the pros at that, and it'll take a lot of capital, a lot of time to try to get to that same level that they are already at. So let's talk about how you structure your deals with your investors, your capital, your equity partners. What is the typical structure there?
Yeah, typical structure is, we borrow, call it 65% of debt, and that's an acquisition reposition loan that we're going to a bank, and the bank is going to provide us 65% purchase price, plus they're going to provide us a renovation holdback, which will cover our renovation work. And so that's how the debt's covered. And the equity, typically, we'll find an investor that will put up 90% of the equity. We'll put up 10%, and they call that the co-invest. So Bascom Group will invest 10%. Our investor will invest 90% of the equity. And typically it's how the structure works is if you sell the building, you pay back the preferred return, which might be 10%. So you pay back a 10% annual return to the investor. Then you pay back their capital. Then you go into a profit split. So we put up 10% of the equity. Maybe the profit split is 70-30. So instead of going 90-10, we get 70-30. And then they'll often say, hey, when you hit a 15% internal rate of return, we'll go 60-40. So if you do better than a 15% return, they'll start paying you 40% of the profit and they keep 60. And they kind of call that the waterfall or
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
The promoter, the carried interest structure.
Yeah.
And that's really how, an investor or a sponsor who, doesn't have a big net worth can start making money, because if they take their sweat equity, find a good deal, find a partner, structure this waterfall, promote carried interest structure. If it does well and they sell it and make a big profit for the investors, they can start participating in that upside or promote or profit sharing interest.
Got it. And, what about your employees? I know I read it, an article or somewhere where I read that your employees also kind of take part in equity with your acquisitions. Talk about how you guys structure that as well.
Yes, that's a good question. I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of firms make is they have a principal and, the company owner keeps all the profits and the workers work there and kind of feel like they're never part of the deal. And so what we do is we give a percentage of this profit sharing to the acquisition people that, found the deal, got the loan, closed it. And then another share of the promote we give to, the operational people, which is the asset managers, the people that are working on renovations. They're doing the hard work, day-to-day stuff over the next couple of years. And so, we give a share to the acquisition people and a share to the operational people. And that way they feel like they're partners in a deal. And, that way when I go home at night and sleep, I know that there's people in my company that have a vested interest in that property, ensuring that, we make distributions, the renovations get completed on time. And if we sell for a profit, they're co-owners or partners in the deal.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. And to be honest with you, this is like the first time that I've actually heard of this. So maybe it's more, whenever you get higher up in more institutional, but I like that because it kind of gives you the alignment of interest, with your employees. So it also gives them that sense of pride where they're going to try to do their best to make sure that this asset is performing as best possible. Right. So, I really like that strategy. So that's awesome. What do you contribute has been to being your most contributing factor to your success and your growth?
I think it's having good people, Juan, and it's hiring good people. We've hired a lot of young people, and I think two is it's hiring them and then giving them the authority as well as responsibility. So a lot of people have a lot of responsibility, but they don't have no authority. So our goal is to give them a lot of responsibility as well as authority, so they can. They're running these assets, and if they need to, fire the property manager, do these things, they've got the authority, subject to our partner's approval, to make those decisions. We try to create a very fun environment where people come in and have a good time doing what they're doing. Three, we try to our goal is to make our employees wealthy. So I want them to all be multimillionaires. It's great that my partners are, but, we want employees that work hard and do well at our company and create wealth for our company to create wealth for themselves. And so I guess really a couple things is giving them authority and responsibility. 2 is making it a fun environment. 3 is making them partners and making them see that they can create wealth themselves by being part of this company.
Yeah, I love that. That's so awesome. With all the activities that go on every single day, in your company, how do you best manage your time?
Good question. I think you have to be good at delegation. You have to be good at hiring people. We treat everybody like they're a business unit or profit center. So when people do their annual plan, they do an annual plan for themselves. So they kind of look at themselves as really a business unit. And how do we make each person a profitable business unit? So they've got objectives that, maybe they have to buy 5 properties. They have to generate this much in fees. They're going to sell this much in properties and generate this much in profit. So we have everyone kind of look at themselves like a profit center and treat each person almost like their own company. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Can you share with us any big mistakes that you have made over the years, and what did you learn from those?
Yeah, we made a lot of mistakes over the years, unfortunately. Back in the 05 to 07, when the real estate markets were booming, we were smart and we sold out of, the housing markets like Phoenix and a few others. But we bought in Texas, we bought in Colorado, we bought in a lot of other markets that didn't suffer as much damage. But when the real estate market crashes, it affects everywhere. And so I think, we kind of missed that downturn back then. Second, mistakes we've made, we once told ourselves we would never buy a master metered chiller building in Houston, Texas. Because people warned us, these 1970s buildings with chiller systems and all that they always fail and they're very expensive. And well, one of our first deals there was a chiller system with a boiler issue. And we ended up buying it, and we hired all the experts in the world and thought we had a handle on the building. And sure enough, 3, 4, 5 years later, the boilers fail, the chillers fail. And when those fail, they're very, very expensive items to fix. I think the other mistake that we made in the last cycle was, we bought a lot of Class C apartments in Class C locations. And, that business model worked well for us. And so we did that over the years. And so, when the market's doing well, you buy a Class C property, Class C location, you buy it and renovate, you get higher rents. What happened in the last downturn is in 2007, 2008, is a lot of those Class C buildings and Class C locations, and, in the Dallases, the Houston, Phoenixes, a lot of the workers were, I call it workers that, were here from Mexico, or they were doing construction work. And so when the whole single family market stopped, they either went back to Mexico or they moved out of their apartment. And when you're in a Class C apartment, what happens is the Class A's drop their rents. The people in the Class B move to Class A's. The Class C's move to Class B's. And meanwhile, the very low end of the properties really don't have a lot of consumers because they've all moved up a little bit. And we found that those properties took the biggest hit on delinquency and vacancy. And then second, when their rents were only $500 to $600 per month, and you're having to kind of offer concessions, you have vacancy, there's not a lot of margin between the rent and expenses. So expenses are going up because you have turnover. Meanwhile, your rents are going down. And what happens is you have a very, very small margin of profit, and that profit can go negative. And so I think we learned in the last downturn that these Class C apartments in a recession can get hit pretty hard. So.
Okay. So basically what you said was, on the last point, was that the Class A tenants, they tend to go down. No, I'm sorry. They all go up, right? That's what you said, right? They kind of go up, right? And do you attribute that to maybe the Class A lowering, and offering a bunch of concessions. So now the Class B tenants feel like they can afford those Class A, so they move up, and same thing with the Class C to B.
Exactly. And so what happens in a downturn is, if you're a Class A, have vacancy, you cut your rents. And what happens is a guy who is living in a Class B apartment says, oh, it's so cheap, I can live in a nicer place at the same rent. And so everyone kind of moves up a notch because everyone's dropped their rents. Obviously when the market's better, the Class A raises their rents and people start dropping down in quality to find a more affordable place to live. But when things go bad, the Class A's drop their rents and offer concessions, and they try to steal some of the better Class B renters.
Yeah, so that's why you kind of like to stick with that Class B. It's kind of like the sweet spot, right?
Exactly. We like Class B because it's again, it's the biggest demographic in the U.S., which is kind of the middle income consumer who wants a nice place to live.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, Jerry. So it's time for our nuggets of wealth, and these are basically questions that I ask every guest that can provide maybe some tips and strategies to the audience and to my listeners. Okay. So we'll get that started. So what did you have to sacrifice to get where you are today?
I had to sacrifice. Really, it was a lot of social activities. When I first started renovating homes, I would work until 6 o'clock at night or 6:30. And, instead of going out the bars and having drinks with my friends or socializing or dating, I would have to go drive to my apartment or house that I was renovating, meet contractors, do work, paint the building. And so, there were times that I would think, gosh, my buddies are having fun. I'm here working. Am I doing the right thing? And so, if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, there's going to be sacrifices, and really it's, having fun with your buddies or friends or drinking, those will be the first sacrifices. But, when I was renovating homes, I loved it. It was fun. It was exciting. It was energizing. So I didn't necessarily view it as a sacrifice. I actually enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. So what about now? What about now that you're a little bit older than where you were, coming out of college, with your family and whatnot? What do you sacrifice there?
I think the sacrifice today is, I still work a lot, and, I've got 4 kids, and I think, if you're a successful entrepreneur, it's hard to have a perfect balance in life. And so I think, the goal is to, make sure you spend enough time with your kids. And, I may have to put the kids to bed at 9, but then from 9 to 12 at night, I'm doing emails. So you gotta find a way to work around your kids' schedules and find time to do it. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What key tip or advice would you give to others who are looking to get started or take their business to the next level?
I think the one key piece of advice I would give, and I'm assuming most people are here for real estate, is, a lot of people say, hey, Jerry, I want to go buy some real estate. And how do I do what you're doing? I tell people, you start small. Don't try to buy a 100 unit. Try to buy a duplex. And not try to buy a duplex, but, don't fly to, if you're in Newport Beach, don't try to fly to Dallas. Find something within a 1-hour drive of your house and start small. It could be a condo, house, or a duplex, or a triplex. And anything under a 4 unit, you can get very good owner occupant financing. So you can get 85, 90, 95%, sometimes 97% financing to buy, a duplex or a triplex or fourplex if it's an owner occupant. So try to buy something smaller, buy something that you can drive to, preferably, half hour or less. And also, once you've picked out your target market, spend a good 6 months and look at hundreds and hundreds of opportunities, learn the markets, and don't just jump in and immediately buy something because you'll make a mistake, but look at hundreds of deals. And it takes hundreds of deals to really find the good buy, and budget 6 months and say, for 6 months, I'm going to look at every deal in my submarket, learn the market, meet brokers. And so after 6 months and hundreds of deals, when a good buy pops up, you're going to know it. When you start looking the first week or 2 weeks, you have no idea if it's a good buy or not. And typically when you start looking too, most of the deals you're looking at are deals that haven't sold that are overpriced. And so it really takes months and months of work and hundreds of deals to find that one outlier that's a good buy. And so that'd be my advice.
Great advice. So do your homework basically, and don't dive in too quickly.
Yep.
Do your homework and try to underwrite as many deals as you can, and
Sure.
until once you kind of get the hang of it, you'll know when that deal comes around. That's a good deal. What is a good tool, source, or platform that you use frequently that can also help others?
Yeah, I'd say a good tool is, I always tell people if you're going to go find, real estate or, look to buy something and syndicate it, get your salesperson's license. I got my brokerage license. So get your salesperson's license and, you take a test and you can use that. I tell people that you can be your own broker and earn 3%. So why not go do that? So get your own salesperson's license. And then, if you're looking for smaller properties, LoopNet's a good source. And if you get your salesperson's license, you can get on MLS. So you've got MLS, you've got LoopNet. And now you have kind of access to all of these, income properties or apartments or condos that you can kind of start looking for deals.
Got it. What book are you currently reading?
I'm not reading any book right now. I should. I've been too busy.
Yeah, sometimes reading books it's a great way to kind of learn, and kind of just expand your mind and keep you honest, right? But sometimes you don't have time for that, right? So you got other things to do to take care of. So it's all right. It's all right. No big deal. Where are you looking to take your business here in the next 10 years?
Well, we're looking to continue to grow our business, and we're looking to create additional companies. And I think as we get older and get busier, our goal is to continue to find, great people that can be our partners and that they're looking to create wealth. And so we try to find, experienced, ambitious, aggressive people that maybe they're working for a big company or working for a smaller company, but, they want our capital experience to go grow their business. And so we encourage people if, hey, you want to buy, mobile home parks in Pennsylvania and you're an expert at it and there's an opportunity, we'll fund a business plan to go do things like that. And so our goal is to really find people that are, ambitious, aggressive, want to create net worth for themselves, and they've got some business plan that they've got experience in and we believe in. And that's our goal, is to find more and more of those.
The key word that you mentioned there was people, that you want to find people. And so I like that because there's a lot of guys that will mention, I want to grow to this amount, or I want to, make this much money. So, I like that you mentioned that, you want to find people, the right people that surround and build your company. Right. So I love that. At the end of your life, how do you want to be remembered?
I think we like to be remembered as someone that helped create a lot of successful careers for people. And so, we've got a very active internship program, and I think we've had 175 interns over the years. And all those interns came to us when they were young. They were sophomore, junior, maybe a grad student, but, young, very inexperienced. And our what we love to see is those people go off in life and, they've started companies, they've created a lot of wealth. They're running companies. They're working for very impressive people. A lot of them are partners or lenders, asset managers. So, we really take pride in seeing the younger people and helping them grow and do well in their careers. Because at the end of the day, 25 years ago, we were that same person that was fresh out of school. We had no money, no net worth, but we were aggressive, ambitious, and young, and willing to work hard and create value for our partners.
I love that. So, and you took advantage of the timing of the markets, right? It was good timing as well. And I think that's one thing that you have to do is, always, kind of be in the game, even if you're not buying, but be in the game and test the market and see how it is. And sometimes it's not the right time, but, there's always gonna be the right time as long as you're staying in the game and you're in front of everything, right? So
that's a good plan. You gotta be at the plate, watching pitches, and maybe people aren't throwing you strikes, but they're going to eventually, and you have to be ready to kind of swing the bat and hit it.
There you go. I love that. Where can Commit to Wealth Nation go to find out more about you and the Bascom Group?
You can look on it's bascomgroup.com, and you can go to our website there as well. And if you have opportunities, feel free to email or call us. If you're looking for internships, we've got a very active internship program. All of our interns, again, have gone on to have very successful careers, whether it's their own companies or other companies. And if you've got new ventures or business plans, feel free to send our way as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jerry, for all the amount of and wealth of information that you provided to not only myself, but Commit to Wealth Nation. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it, and I wish you continued success.
Juan, thank you. It's been a great experience on this show, and for all your listeners out there, I hope they do well and work hard and are successful in their real estate careers as well.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Work hard and then you get to play hard, right? So,
exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry, once again, and you have a great rest of your weekend.
Juan, well, thank you. So, great.